Morning, everyone. I'd like
Good
to
morning.
call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty One territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Bill Moretsky. I am with the panel for this meeting and am chairing this meeting, and with me on the panel in the room is Mr. Robert Kraus, and joining via Zoom is Ms. Diane Knight. Our assessor this morning is Mr. Darren Ducharme, and our administrative person is Ms. Phoebe Graywood. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for a revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat after each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 3 and 6 on our docket today. We will start with item number 370 if the applicant is available. If not, we will then proceed to item 2, 485 St. Mary's Road. Ms. Graywood, can you please swear in the parties?
You state your full name.
Darren Ducharme.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You be seated. Ms. Flood, please state your full name. Jaleesa J. Flood. Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Ms. Karen, so if you want to sit here, you can come to the hearing. Please state your full name.
Jennifer and Karen.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, we're going to proceed with item 2, 485 St. Mary's Road. This is an application for revision of assessed value. Are there any preliminary issues from either party? Start.
We will be seeking non-cooperation.
Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is to read in the property and then proceed to the non-co-op matter, and we will deliberate on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's file number 24-1198. The roll number is 0800198000. The address is 485 St. Mary's Road. For the roll year 2025, with a reference date April 1st, 2023, we have an assessed value of 397.10 T and 295,060 T for a total of 692,000. Property description, the parcel use is a CMU. We have two buildings, two premises, 2 stories. The actual year built 1915, effective year built 1934. We have a land area of 6,730 square feet and a leasable area of 1,735 square feet. We are seeking the penalty for non-cooperation. We did not receive any requested information back from the subject property for 2022. In fact, we've not received any information back from the subject property since 2009. This information is crucial for us in verifying property characteristics and in developing assessed values. And my evidence for that will start on page 11 of my brief. On page 11, we see the cover letter that was sent to the subject property. It has a tracking number LP 726-456-220 CA with the date of June 9th, 2023. Was addressed to Jennifer A. Carnes at 641 Niagara Road in Winnipeg, R2J3, and it gives the roll number and address of the subject property. On page 12 is the instructions for completing the questionnaire that was sent out as part of this mailing. Page 13 is the copy of the legislative authority that was sent out as part of this mailing. On page 14 is a copy of the income and expense questionnaire that was requested. Page 15, the tenant verification form that was requested for the subject property. Page 16 is the multifamily questionnaire form that was requested from the subject property. On page 17 is a Canada Post signature card confirming delivery of the requested information. We have the same tracking number LP 726-456-220 CA. We have a delivery date June 12th, 2023. Signatory name J. Carnes and the signature provided. And on page 18 is the Canada Post delivery progress report, starting with the gathering of the information June 9th and then ending June 12th, 9:42 when the signature was obtained. And that would conclude my presentation for non-compliance. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Karen, do you have any questions for the assessor on the matter of the non-co-op?
I do not have any questions.
Mr. Kraus, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Ms. Knight, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
And I do not have any questions. Do you have anything that you want to say about the matter at all, Ms. Cairns?
Am I supposed to wait till this lady presents, or am I supposed to present now?
Just on the matter of the non-co-op matter.
Oh, okay.
Anything you want to say about it, or?
I'm sorry. I am sorry that I did not fill in the correct forms.
Okay. Then we will, Ms. Graywood, we will then go into recess and deliberate on the matter. So.
Oh, I don't get to say anything else?
About the non-co-op, yeah, you can absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I filed an appeal on the value of the property, but we're gonna do that too, or we?
Yes, we are, yeah, we are gonna do that. We're just gonna deal with the non-cooperation matter right now with the documents that they didn't
Okay, so it's two separate incidents or
Two separate-
matters?
Two separate
So,
matters, yeah.
at first, you're presenting that I didn't fill out the proper forms. And then we are gonna, talk about the value.
Correct. Yes. Okay, call the meeting back to order, on this, property, item number 2, 485 St. Mary's Road with respect to the application for non-co-op. The board has deliberated and has decided that we will grant the non-cooperation. And Mr. Ducharme, you can continue with your presentation.
I'll start on, go to page 2. We have the subject property photos. The top is a base map photo of the subject property at 485 St. Mary's Road. On the bottom is an aerial view of the subject property, with a blue roof over one of the buildings and the yellow awning. On page 3, the top photo, we see a Google Street View photo of the subject property. And the bottom photo is a Google Street View photo of the subject property at the back of it, showing the back of the subject property. Page 4 are my rent comparables. Comparable 1 is also a CMU, and it's in the same region as the subject property. And it's has an effective year built in the ballpark of the subject property. 533, or sorry, comparable 2s at 533 St. Mary's Road, the same street as the subject. It's in the same region, 1 as the subject, and it's in the same neighborhood, the Glenwood neighborhood, as a subject, and it's similar in size and leased area to the subject. Comparable 3 is also on St. Mary's Road, 749. It's also in region 1. Comparable 4, 188-A is also a CMU as the subject is, and is also in region 1, and is similar in effective age to the subject property. Comparable 5, 192-A Avenue, also a CMU, also in region 1. Comparable 6, 190-A, also CMU, region 1. Comparable 7 is all on the same street, 972 St. Mary's Road, in the same region. 953 St. Mary's Road, comparable 8 on the same street and in the same region. Comparable 9, also on the same street in the same region, and comparable 10, also on the same street and in the same region. The mean rent of all these comparables is $14.02. The median rent of all these comparables is $14 even. The model rent is coming in at $12.18. Therefore, I feel the comparables are in support of the model rent. On page 5 are my multifamily rent comparables. All the comparables chosen are on the same street and are in the same neighborhood, the Glenwood neighborhood, as the subject property. The mean rent of these comparables is $874.29 per unit. The median rent of these comparables is $920 per unit. The model rent for the subject property is $870.36 per unit. Therefore, I feel the comparables provided are in support of the model rent. Page 6, we see the apartment stream income. We have a one bedroom suite, 3 2-bedroom suites for a total number of 4 suites, giving a potential gross income of $41,777. We have a vacancy loss of 2.6%, expenses at 53.18%, a cap rate of 4.8, giving a capitalized value of $396,917 or $397,000 rounded for the apartment stream. On page 7, we have the retail income stream. We have a leasable area of 1,735 square feet with a model rent of $12.18 per square foot, giving a potential rent of $21,132. We have a vacancy loss of 5%, expenses 3%, shortfall $7 per square foot, giving a net operating income of 18,866 square feet. We applied a 6.4% cap rate. It gives a capitalized value of $294,781 or $295,000 rounded for the retail stream. And on page 8 is a summary of both income streams. We see a potential rent of $62,909. Go down to the bottom, we have an estimated market value of $692,000 rounded. On page 9 is our capitalization rate chart. Page 10 is our municipal assessment act excerpts. And page 11 through the rest of the brief is the non-compliance evidence. And that would end my presentation. Welcome questions, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Cairns, any questions on the assessor's presentation?
No.
Mr. Kraus, any questions on the assessor's presentation?
No, I have a question.
Ms. Knight, any questions on the assessor's presentation?
Just in the cap rate, which portion are you taking the cap rate from? On page 9?
I'd say it would most likely fill in retail under regional. That's where we also
Okay.
have CMRSTs and CMLSF, or no, sorry, CMCMUs would be there then.
Thank you.
Okay, for the cap rate again, you have it at what, 4.8%?
Yeah, for the rental.
For the apartments, yeah. For the apartment stream.
And for the retail, you have it at
It's 6.4. I would say there's no real spot for the cap rate for the apartment in terms of this chart, but.
yeah, because it's kind of unique.
Yeah. There's not many of these properties. No.
You were mentioning on your rent comparables, you went to page 4. So all of these are similar to the similar situation to the subject property?
Well, there's so number 1, 4, 5, 6 are all the same POC, CMCMU. The others are standalone buildings. The ones are retail paid buildings.
Again, can you go with the ones that are the same, CM?
Comparable number 1.
Right.
Comparable number 4. Comparable number 5. Comparable number 6 are all CMUs.
Okay, but these aren't numbered on my, you're just saying,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm okay.
are they?
Yeah, 194-A.
Uh-huh.
188-A, 192-A, and 190-A. Those are all CMUs.
Okay. And then you said there were you went through the median and average, and I don't see that on my sheet either here. That summary of the data.
No, I just calculated them all myself. I
So
didn't
you
type it in or anything.
Right. Okay. Okay, I have no further questions then. Ms. Cairns, you may proceed with your presentation. Do you have the submission here?
No.
So you're going
I
to,
mean, I think I filled in a form appealing the assessment. Do you have that or you don't?
well, that wouldn't be part of the,
That's not here,
yeah.
okay.
We don't see that.
Okay, so I'm asking for
So you want to do a verbal presentation then?
yes,
Okay, okay, then you may proceed, yeah.
so I'm asking for 485 St. Mary's Road to have the other assessed value of 298 stay as is, and the residential to be reduced to 0, because at this point, the building is functioning as a retail store for my husband's business. And so it has an occupant, and absolutely all the residential streets have no occupants and are not allowed to have occupants due to the 1986 city bylaw, which dictates what a building must have in order to have more than one residential unit. So I have no residential people, and I have stated to the bylaw officer that I am not renting out my residential suites, and I have no intention to rent them out. And it is my intent, when my husband retires from having the retail business, to demolish the building and sell the land, because at this point I've been given wise guidance from engineers and architects who have said this building is too old to economically and wisely bring up to the 1986 code. It is wiser and more efficient to demolish the building and build a new building. I am not financially in the position to demolish the building and put up a new one. At this point, though, I am in the position to have my husband's retail store function on the premises.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nothing further. Mr. Ducharme, any questions for the applicant?
I guess I would just have a question about why the bylaws would not state it's acceptable for renting out with person.
Like Wayne Vickers gave me a list of things that had to be done, and I was doing them, but it just got to the point where this was sort of like that movie, The Money Pit, where, you know, the more I it was never perfect. And, you know, it's just also because it was built in 1915, you know, there really isn't good insulation, and the heating system is quite weird. And, you know, it's just to make it so each individual unit is self-contained and fireproof, and all the things that have to be done to make it 100% fireproof for all tenants. It's just, there's still too much to be done.
I think I have no further questions. Thank you.
Ms. Knight, any questions for the applicant?
So the value that you're asking for the whole property is $295?
Yes, I agree that the retail space that is occupied by my husband's business has a retail, an assessed value of $295, and I agree to that.
But the $397 you say has no value.
It has no value because the amount of money to get it up to 1986 code is astronomical and beyond my means. And at the same time, 485 St. Mary's Road is still a functioning business with a retail floor that still functions, but it's unrealistic according to a number of professionals, engineers and architects. It's unrealistic for the 4 residential suites to get upgraded to 1986 standards.
So when did those suites become empty?
June 1st, 2022.
And nobody has lived in there, you just keep the heat on so the pipes don't freeze?
Correct. And the heat is on to heat the retail space also.
Right, I understand that. You're not disagreeing with the retail part. It's just the tenants part.
And realistically, you know, I can't sell the building as is. And realistically, in order to sell the building, I do have to demolish. I have to demolish the building in order to sell the property. And it would be, you know, maybe in 5 or 10 years when my husband decides to retire. He is 65 years old.
Okay, so the last time that you were at, the last time the appraisal was done, the people were still living in there. This is the first time that there's been nobody living in there for an appraisal?
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was here. I forget how long ago, but last time people were living there, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Kraus, any questions for the applicant?
No, I have none.
It could be, you said the suites were empty since 2002.
June 1st.
2002 or 2020?
022, okay,
If
sorry.
I said 2, I apologize.
Okay, sorry, I heard that wrong. Okay. Something wasn't driving with me there, but now it does, okay. Well, your contention is the space is not rentable at all.
It's the bylaw officer who say that, and I believe this. I understand that there is a law, the 1986 fire safety law. And I understand what needs to be done to make suites fireproof and self-contained, and also a building, hallways, you know, self-contained. You know, I do understand all the reason why in 1986 the city of Winnipeg made these laws to save people. If one suite catches on fire, they don't want other people's suite to catch on fire or people to die in fire.
Okay, so these suites sort of became empty over a period of years then?
No, it was the bylaw officer who insisted that I clear them out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you know, when I bought the building 15 years ago, people who were renting from the other owner stayed. And they did stay until June 1st, 2022. So what I'm saying is that, you know, there were long-term renters who had made it their home, but I was required by the bylaw officers to vacate the premises because they were not to 1986 fire code standards.
Did you ever get a dollar figure on how much it would cost to upgrade it to those
You know,
fire code?
the engineer and the architects both came up with figures close to $600,000.
So could the space be used for other things other than residences though? Could it be used to augment the retail space? Storage up there,
Financially, you know, I wish I could say I could rebuild a new building, but I'm not in that financial position. And the suites are not conducive to business purposes, because they're little suites that contain a kitchen and a bathroom, so they don't really present as retail space or office space. But the building itself, for my purposes, having a retail store on the first floor makes sense, and the building has a purpose and has a useful purpose for my husband's business. And we are maintaining the property. It's not an empty building. It's not an eyesore.
okay, I have no further questions then.
Sorry, I just have a further question. So just because the building portion is empty, so the whole building you say is only worth $295, not And nothing, no value for that upstairs?
How I'm presenting it is that realistically, I must demolish the building before I'm able to sell it. So I don't believe anyone today can buy it for $295 or any figure. I believe it cannot be sold due to the 1986 fire bylaw.
So if you were to sell it tomorrow as an empty lot, what would you sell it for?
I believe I could get $295 for it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything in summation, Mr. Ducharme?
No, thank you.
Anything in summation, Ms. Cairns?
Thank you for your time and, you know, I hope that you see that, $295 is fair.
Okay, so having heard all the evidence for this property, this now concludes, 485 St. Mary's Road. And you're free to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Could I ask the lady for a copy of that to read or, you know, your papers?
That
Oh,
was the brief.
Yeah, it's my copy, sorry.
Okay.
I think they should have
Should
got a
send-
copy of
should
it.
send-
Can I ask you to email it to me just so I have a copy?
Or you should have been sent, I would imagine.
Should have had it already.
Usually send it to if you submit a brief or if you request it.
Okay.
So if you wanted to send an email to us, then we can consider sending you via the assessor's brief.
Okay, to this, like the BO,
Yes.
I can just say, could I please have a copy?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, now we can proceed to item number 3, 518 Selker. Ms. Graywood, can you swear in the applicants, please?
Were you the only one speaking today?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I get you to state your full name?
I'm Regina Jordan.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, we're going to hear item number 3, 518 Selker. This is an application for revision of the amount of the assessed value. Are there any preliminary matters from either party before we begin?
No, not from our end.
Okay, then Mr. Ducharme, can you please proceed with your presentation on this
I
project?
will, thank you. This is file number 24-387. Roll number 140-103-09000. The address is 518 Selkirk Avenue. For the roll year 2025 with a reference date April 1st, 2023, we have an assessed value of 120,010 T and 247,060 T for a total of 367,000. The parcel use is a CMU. We have one building, 2 premises, 2 stories. An actual year built 1950, an effective year built 1954. We have a land area of 3,046 and a leasable area of 2,112 square feet. Our recommendations to confirm the assessed value of 367,000. On page 2, we have the top photo is a base map of the subject property. And the bottom photo is a street view photo of the subject property at 518 Selkirk Avenue. We can see the main floor is a restaurant. It's has dine-in or takeout capability, and the second floor would be the apartment stream. On page 3 is an aerial photo of the subject property, and showing the side. And the bottom is an aerial photo of the subject property, and showing the front of the subject property facing Selkirk. On page 4 are the my rent comparables. Comparable 188-A is also a CMU. Comparable 2, 192-A is a CMU, same as the subject, similar in effective age to the subject. 190 also a CMCMU, similar in effective age to the subject. And 194 also a CMCMU. 764 Notre Dame is also a CMCMU. It's approximately 3 kilometers away from the subject. 770 Notre Dame, also a CMCMU, also approximately 3 kilometers away from the subject. We have 1074 Main Street is in the same region and the same neighborhood as the subject, as is 1076A Main Street in the same region and same neighborhood as the subject. The mean rent of these comparables is $12.97 per square foot. The median rent of these comparables is $13 per square foot. And the model rent of the subject property is $10.16 per square foot. I feel these comparables provided are in support of the model rents. On page 5 are our multifamily rent comparables. All these comparables are from the same neighborhood, 302 William White, as the subject property. 3 of them being on the same street as the subject. The mean rent of these comparables is $638.25 per month. The median rent is the mean rent is $638.25. The median is $629.50. And the model rent is $544.25. Therefore, I feel these comparables support the model rents. Page 6, we have the apartment income stream. We have 1 bachelor suite, 2 one-bedroom suites for a total number of 3 suites, giving a potential gross income of $19,629. We have vacancy loss at 3.3%, expenses at 54.47%. Giving a net operating income of $8,642, an overall cap rate of 7.2, giving a capitalized value of $120,028 or $120,000 rounded. On page 7 is the retail income stream. We have a leasable area of 2,112 square feet at $10.16 per square foot. Giving a potential rent of $21,458. We've applied a 5% vacancy, 3% expenses, a shortfall at $7 per square foot. This gives a net operating income of $19,034. We've applied a cap rate of 7.7%, resulting in a capitalized value of $247,195 or $247,000 rounded. On page 8 is the summary of both the income streams. Again, coming in at an estimated market value of $367,000. Page 9 is our capitalization rate chart. Page 10, the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts. Page 11 is the subject property 2022 mailer. Page 1 is the property income and expense questionnaire. We see it's part owner operated. You'll note there is a reported leasable area of 1,500 square feet, but I did verify that the 2,112 square feet applied is correct through 2 sources for the permit for the current tenant. Permit PE 169358. And this was also confirmed using a pictometry tool we have. Page 12 is a copy of the tenant verification form showing the apartment rents. You'll note the monthly rents total $1,720 per month or $20,600. Or sorry, the monthly rents are $1,720 per month or $20,640 per year. This is different than what is noted. The $17,080 reported on the previous income and expense. On page 13 is a returned multifamily questionnaire. You'll note the 1 bachelor suite and the 2 one-bedroom units are the same as our model. Page 14 and 15, this is just showing that a certified mailer did go out requesting information. The information was returned, although it was late. We decided not to seek non-compliance as the subject property is generally being good in returning this information. And that will conclude my presentation.
Mr. Chaudhary, any questions for the assessor?
No.
No questions. Ms. Knight, any questions for the assessor?
I don't think so, no.
Mr. Kraus, any questions for the assessor?
Just with the rent for the apartments. You've got 19,629 using the comparables, I guess. Is there a reason why you didn't go with what was submitted in the return of 17,080, the rent on administrating that?
So the model rent is 19,629.
Yeah,
Okay, and you're referring to,
yeah, their return information has it listed as 17,076.
yeah, so on their tenant verification form, it actually comes out to 20,640.
If you, oh, so the math is wrong on the,
I'm not sure which one's right, because if you look at the tenant verification form,
which page?
page 8, sorry, page 12 of my
Page
brief.
12.
If you look under monthly rent,
Right. That's really-
570, 350, 800, that's 1720 a month.
Yeah.
So it's out to 20,640.
Oh, so.
So that would be one reason, and another, there's one that seems quite low to me, in terms of the actual rent. I think it was a bachelor's suite, coming in at 350 per month, which, seems quite low to me.
Right. And in the past, so you said that the applicant has been good in.
Generally good in returning the information requested, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have no questions. So then we can proceed with your presentation, Mr. Chaudhary.
Yes, I will give a verbal testimony.
Sorry, can you speak up?
I'm gonna give verbal evidence. The reason I'm here, I find out 2021, the property assessed value was a lot lower. And past 3 years, it's jump up 58%, which is quite high. And it's contradiction between one, the property assessed report received for the residential one was 120. And other property was at 247. And the city of Winnipeg, a real a property value for a residential 166, and for other property was 17,000 for the commercial use, which I had paid in recent year.
Anything else?
Mm.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Ducharme, for the applicant?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Kraus, any questions?
Can you, so you're saying, did you submit the information on the other number that you're using, the earlier assessment? I'm just seeing the 2025 assessment.
I have this one.
Is it, you've submitted something, I've got it in front of me, but I don't see another.
I submit the same block, street value, which I heard I came first time here,
Yeah,
so you can provide
no,
those as evidence.
no,
So I keep it, so I don't want to discuss about that.
yeah, but you were saying that you had a different,
Yes,
and that is from your previous assessment from 2021 or 2023?
this is a same thing, here. I believe it's for 2025. And also, the original tax I paid for 2025, 2023. It's quite a bit and different, you know, like
So what were can you just repeat the 2023 numbers for me?
the city of Winnipeg 2024 tax, residential one. It's 166. Taxable or other property, 217, which is 383,000.
And that's in comparison with this year, which was 247 for the other. And 120 for the residential. Is that what I'm understanding? Or like the,
Yeah. That's what I was believing, you know, like 247, it's a way too high. I don't know this jump up all of a sudden for this year is $217,000 for assessed for 23 to 2025.
right. But your residential looks like it's gone down from 166 to 120. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have no questions. Anything?
I do,
Oh,
I do.
did I miss you?
Yes, thank you. That's okay. So what value are you asking for the two properties?
If one, I agree with, you know, like, actually it's both, you know, like it's jump up quite a bit for past 3 years, you know. But,
So what value are you asking for today?
I would say is keep a 12 for residential and 217 for other use.
So 112 and 217 to be 329? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay. And that's okay, thank you.
Okay. I have no questions then. Anything in summation, Mr. Trump?
I do not have information, thank you.
Anything in summation, Mr. Juderi? Okay, then therefore that concludes this matter of item number 3, 518 South Dirk. You may leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we have Rocky available?
Just thought, I'm just gonna email him.
Down in Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Gone.
Well, let's take a short 5-minute recess then. Okay, let's call the meeting back to order. Let's proceed with the next item, number 6, 755 Osborne. Ms. Graywood, can you please swear in the applicant?
Mr. Neufeld, please state your full name.
Rocky Neufeld?
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, 755 Osborne is an application for revision of assessed value. Are there any preliminary issues from either party? Where am I beginning?
Not from us.
Well, I don't think, not sure if it's a preliminary issue, but I know that there's been some discussion with the assessor, and we're not going to there's two sections, a residential and a commercial, and we're not. I think aside from the cap rate, we're not getting, we weren't gonna deal with anything on the multifamily side of it, but unless the assessor wants to go through it, but I won't be asking him any questions on it except with regard to the cap rate. I think there was an agreement, the parties, were fine with the income. Is that a preliminary matter?
Sure.
Okay,
I think it qualifies, yeah. There's no comment on that then, or?
No, Eric mentioned that he would, in an email, distribute the apartment. Of course, yeah, the apartment extreme or, other than, I guess, a cap rate, so.
Okay. Then you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. File number 24-4009. Roll number 120-023-77000. The address is 755 Osborne Street. For the roll year 2025 with a reference date April 1st, 2023. We have an assessed value of 175.10T and 450.60T for a total of 625,000. Parcel use is a CMCMU. It's one building, 4 premises, 2 stories, actual year built 1909. We have an effective year built 1982, a leasable area of 2008. I do have a recommendation to decrease the total value from 625,000 to 601,000, which I will review in more detail as I get further into the brief. On page 2, the top photo is a base map of the subject property at 755 Osborne Street. The subject property is located on the west side of Osborne, approximately a block north of Jubilee in the Lord Roberts neighborhood, and within the South Osborne Business Improvement Zone. The bottom photo, we see a Google Street View photo of the subject property. We can see it's a converted residential building, which has seen significant updates on the exterior, as well as the interior, which we'll be reviewing shortly. On page 3, the top photo is a Google Street View photo of the subject property, taken from the side street. We see it's a 2.5-story building with a deck coming off the back of the second story. And the bottom photo is another Google Street View photo at the back of the subject property, showing a separate entrance to the second floor, which is currently being used as an Airbnb rental. On page 4, we have requests for information, which we did receive. Below that, you'll see the subject sale history. As we can see, the subject property was purchased by the current owners August 12, 2014 for 550,000. We did receive a property sale questionnaire from the current owners dated February 17, 2016, which indicated this was an arm's length open market transaction. No other items other than real estate was included in the purchase price, and that there was a market value appraisal report or opinion of value completed on the property at the time of sale, indicating a value of 550.
I would like to object to that right now. You do not bring other people's opinions of value. Do you have the copyright permission to do that from the appraiser?
No, I do not from the appraiser.
Is it possible?
Or it said a value of opinion, so I'm not sure if it was an appraisal or just a value of opinion.
Well, regardless, every appraisal is copyrighted, and the rights are held by the appraiser and the owner of the property. In order to talk about it in any way or distribute it, you have to get permission from them. Do you have such permission?
I do not, no.
Okay, do you mind withdrawing the comment?
Yes, I'll withdraw the comment.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't want to be overly.
Yeah, that's fine, no issues.
We're sensitive about that sort of thing as appraisal business.
Okay, understandable.
Okay.
The current owners would be considered to be knowledgeable buyers, being a real estate company. The revised assessed value of 601,000 for this cycle represents an increase of 9.27% over the sale price over 10 years, which we feel is a reasonable increase. On page 5 are my rent comparables. Comparable 1 at 225 Marion Street is chosen. It's a residential building that's being converted to office use, although it's noticeably dated in comparison to the subject property, which you will note in the following photos of the brief. Comparables 2, 4, and 5 at 470 A, B, and D River Avenue are located just off Osborne Street. They are located in the same region, 7 River Heights, as the subject, and in an adjacent neighborhood to the subject. It's in the Osborne Business Improvement Zone. It's been a well-maintained property. Comparable 3, 761 Westminster. It's a residential building that's converted to commercial, though it's much more dated than the subject. Comparable 4, 159 A Lilac. A 2-story standalone building. It's located in the same region as the subject and in an adjacent neighborhood to the subject, and is very similar in leased area to the subject. Comparable 7 and 8 at 539 Osborne Street on the same street as the subject. Located in the same region and in fact in the same neighborhood, the Lord Roberts neighborhood, as the subject. Comparable 9, 106 Osborne Street is located on the same street, the same region, and in an adjacent neighborhood to the subject. Comparable 10, 169 Lilac Street is located in the same region and in an adjacent neighborhood to the subject and similar in leased area to the subject. Comparable 11 at 414 Osborne Street, located on the same street, same region, and in an adjacent neighborhood to the subject. Comparable 12, 390 Osborne. This one is a CMCMU, which is the same as the subject, the same region as the subject, same street as the subject, and in an adjacent neighborhood to the subject. The mean rent of these comparables is $21.70 per square foot. The median rent of these comparables is $22.09 per square foot. The model rent is $22.65 per square foot, or the new model rent is coming in at $22.65 per square foot. Given the general superior quality of subject property, at least in regards to its exterior, which is also matched by its interior, I feel the subject comparables are in support of the model rent. Of the comparables provided, I lean towards comparables 7 and 8 at 539 Osborne as being most similar to the subject, same street, same neighborhood, same business improvement zone, and relatively close in terms of leased areas and effective year built. On page 6, I have my multi-family rent comparables. I won't go through them other than to say I feel the mean rents are $1,138.40 per unit. The median rents are $1,161 per unit. And I feel these comparables are in support of the model rent at $1,173.35 per unit. Page 7, we have the income stream of the office res conversion. So after review, changes were made to PIDs 19312 and 19313. And for PID 19312, the C6 storage mezzanine, this area has been removed completely from the income stream. This area was assigned to the 3rd floor space when it was a CMOFF parcel. But when we changed it to a CMCMU, we had missed taking that out. So we are now counting that area as a bedroom in our records. For PID 19313, I've increased the area from 773 square feet to 980 square feet as per the latest permits for the current tenant, which you will see shortly. So in terms of the workup, we've removed PID 19312, 19313, the area changes from 773 to 980 square feet. The rent changes from $23.18 per square foot to $22.65 per square foot. Changing the potential rent of that PID from $17,918 to $22,197. That changes the total potential rent from $25,954 to 24,607. We have a vacancy loss applied at 6%, expenses at 3%, giving a net operating income has changed from 22,701 to 21,525. The cap remains the same, 5.05, giving a capitalized value of change from 449,525 to 426,238, or a change from 450,000 rounded to 426,000 rounded. I can repeat that if anyone would like.
I think you can repeat those numbers again.
Okay. So we removed the potential rent from pit 19312. The potential rent for pit 19313. We've changed the area from 773 to 980 square feet as per most recent permit for the current tenant owner. The rent has changed from $23.18 to $22.65. And the potential rent for that pit has changed from $17,918 to $22,197. Potential rent for these two remaining pits is now $24,607. So the net operating income has changed to $21,527. This has changed the capitalized value to $426,238 or $426,000 rounded.
Thank you.
Going on to page 8 is the apartment stream. So as discussed previously preliminarily, we won't need to go into details for this. On page 9, we have the income value summary for both streams. Only the one stream has been revised, which I just covered previously, the OFR stream. So if you go to the bottom, we've changed that stream from 450 to 426. We add the 175 from the apartment stream, that gives the new value of 601,000. Page 10, we have our cap rate charts. Page 12, the municipal assessment excerpts. Page 12, we have the subject property 2014 sales listing information. You see a sell price of 550,000. 07/16/2014. Near the bottom in the remarks, approximately second line in, you'll note the property's operated as a commercial conversion for the past 25 years. Significantly modernized between 85 and 81, and then again by the current owner over the past 8 years. On pages 13 through 14 are photos of the interior of the subject property, which you can see it's been significantly modernized. Page 15 is subject property building plans from permits of the current tenant. You see in the middle of the top, the main floor area is 979.6 square feet. On page 16 is the second floor plan. This second floor, along with the third floor, currently being used as an Airbnb by the current owner. It's being advertised as being newly renovated, a short commute to downtown, as well as plenty of nightlife, a stone's throw away. It's a very short walk to groceries, the pub, coffee, etc. It's got a brand new kitchen. It's a large island, a primary bedroom with an ensuite and walk-in closet, laundry on site, its own entrance, and a master bedroom is huge with a sitting area. The reviews on Airbnb show it as a 4.94 out of 5, states it's one of the most loved homes on Airbnb. On page 17 is the second bedroom located on the third floor. And page 18, we have the basement floor plan. See, it's wood framed and drywalled and being used for storage. Pages 19 through 21 are photos of the subject property commercial comparables that are being provided. And pages 22 through 23 are photos of the residential comparables I've provided. Page 24 is a copy of the subject property 2022 income and expense questionnaire. We see it's owner operated. They have also checked the total leasable area at 979.6 square feet. They do mention the city's rejected occupancy. What I know is that there's an action request by PP&D dated February 12th, 2024, notifying the owner of occupancy without a permit. The last communication being May 15th, 2024, awaiting a follow-up from a structural engineer. Page 25 is the second page of the income and expense questionnaire. Page 26 is page 1 of the tenant verification form, left blank as it's owner operated. And page 27 is the second page of the tenant verification form. And that would conclude my presentation. And I welcome questions. Thank you.
Mr. Neufeld, you heard the recommendation. Do you have any comments on that?
No comments on it. We'll just proceed.
Any questions on the assessor's presentation?
Yes, I do.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Beginning page 1, you stated it was built in 1909. How does it effective year get changed to 1982?
That would have been, well, through upgrades to the property, significant upgrades, that would have been a process whenever the renovations would have occurred by the assessor at the time.
And do you have a list of any of these upgrades?
No, I didn't bring any specific upgrades, no.
Well, okay, well, did they change the frame or the foundation?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. And the envelope, was it changed?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. Mechanical?
To my knowledge, I do not know.
Okay, and then the overall finish, was that changed?
I don't know if the overall finish was changed. It would certainly appear to be.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I saw the pictures too. Okay, so I've just asked you about the 5 elements that constitute the construction of a commercial building, and we're fairly sure that 2 of the 3, 3 of the 3 actually have never changed. And how can you change the age of a property when it still has a frame, for example, that's 115 years old?
Well, it's certainly not a 1909 property.
That's not the question. It is a 115-year-old frame and a 115-year-old foundation. How can you say that it's now newer?
Well, in terms of I don't know if it has been changed. I just, it wouldn't be newer in terms of the frame if it remained the same.
Well, I mean, just looking at the pictures, you see that for example, in terms of the foundation, it's still the original rubble stone, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when did they stop using rubble stone? Do you know offhand?
I wouldn't know offhand, no.
A long time ago, though, like the 1920s, 1910. Are you aware of that?
I don't know if it's that long, but that'd be a fair assessment.
Okay. So again, just back to the question, if you're on a frame and a foundation that's 115 years old, how can you say that the house is effectively built in 1982 because of cosmetic changes? Don't you have to change the cosmetics anyway in your house every few decades?
Yeah, and that's what updates your property and that makes it more modern.
Okay, that's just putting new clothes on. That's not fixing the body. Okay, sorry, that was a statement, not a question. I apologize. And any chance have you been in this property?
I haven't, no, we had an assessor there early this year, February this year.
And getting back to the dimensions of the house, you've got a listing here I've looked at on, oh, you've got floor plans starting page 15. Where did these floor plans come from?
From the permit of the current tenant.
Okay, and is this the permit dated um, uh, permit number 21-206883?
I don't believe I'd written down the specific permit number.
Okay, well, it was from issued November of 2022.
That would seem right, yeah.
Okay, and did you have a copy of that permit?
With me? No.
Okay, well, I'm reading it here and it says structural alteration, Ethos Realty. The structural alteration was roof reframing with new trusses, occupancy of main floor only for an existing tenant. Now, did you consider that they've only got this building permit for the main floor only?
Well, I included this main floor. I don't, sorry, say the question again?
Well, the permit that was taken out was for the main floor only. And it says here, occupancy of main floor only.
Well, that may be, I believe you, they provided all the other plans for the rest of the property.
Well, on that
Rest of the
topic,
floor, I should say.
on that topic, do you know anything behind the revoking of the occupancy permit, which you quote on page 27?
I mentioned in my brief that I'm just aware that it was denied and they're waiting a structural engineer.
And when was that denied?
With I wrote it down here somewhere.
27. 2023.
That sounds right. Yeah, I can't find the note right now. That would sound right.
Well, that's what's written on the page 27 permit. Date, certification date anyway. That permit.
Page 27 of my brief.
Yeah.
Well, no, you were verbally speaking about something at PP&D. I think you mentioned a date of 2024. I didn't see it in the brief.
I can't recall where it was.
Okay, but it's fair to say that there's an ongoing disagreement on the occupancy permit for the building,
Yes,
and as of today, is there an occupancy permit?
no. Not for the second floor.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking at the city's website. There's no occupancy permit for any floor here listed. Or you're saying there is one now for the first floor?
No, I'm not saying that. If there's none, I believe you.
Okay, no, I'm only
I-
reading what's on the webpage here, and
Yeah.
I don't know, you've got a better source of information than I do, maybe.
No,
Okay, so how do you go about assessing a property that isn't holding a permit? It's not legal for it to earn money on it. So how can you give it any value?
well, they are earning money on the second floor as of Airbnb. they're operating out of the main floor. I guess when you look at, the comparables that are similar nearby, I guess that's how.
Well, but doesn't the definition of market value require it to be a legal use? And if you don't have an
Well, Why,
occupancy
why are they
permit,
still, why are they still operating out of there again?
that's,
If it's not legal.
well, we're asking questions about the city, not about what people do. And yeah, the point is,
Well, I think that's the answer.
do you, there's a recent municipal board on 1967 Henderson in regard to occupancy permits. Did you have a chance to read that?
No,
Okay. And I obviously that's something I'll discuss later. Moving to you talked about the sale. Now, page 1, you've got the present owner is Ethos Realty, correct?
correct.
Now on the sales listing, and that would be page 12. Do you notice that Ethos Realty was also the broker acting for the sale?
No, I did not know.
So they had listed the property themselves and then they bought it. Is that arm's length?
That would not be arm's length. I'm just referring to the questionnaire.
Okay, and that's fine. Now, when they bought the building, and you put this all in here, the remarks are listed. Was there any indication that they would have a problem getting an occupancy permit and have structural issues?
No, not to my knowledge.
So that happened after they purchased it, that this was discovered? Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
Yes,
In now, if you suffer these sorts of issues, wouldn't it have an impact on the value?
yes, but we're valuing it right now as, we've changed it from a CM office to a CMU. So yes, it would change the value, but I feel we've adjusted for that.
Well, when you have a property that you assume is rentable and then you buy it and then it becomes unrentable, wouldn't you be considering a reduction to land value only?
No,
Okay. The in regard to the area, you've got you've left in the basement. Is there an occupancy permit on the basement?
no,
Does it have a separate entrance?
does not have a separate entrance, no.
Does it have its own services?
No, we've applied a value that it's finished and we feel it's, that it's general to basements.
And again, I'm going to refer to the order in 1967 Henderson, which is still fresh in my mind, where they said if you can't use it, there's no value to it. Why are you putting a value on this when you do have direction from the municipal board?
Well, I'm not familiar with the order you're talking to, but it's not uncommon for us to give value to basements. In general, they do have a value for particularly storage. Some are leaseable, this case not, but we have found that there is value certainly for storage for properties.
Did you bring any rents of basements to the board?
I did not bring any rents this cycle.
And on the sale income and expense information, page 24, we have, this was signed by a realtor who must live up to certain ethical standards, saying that the total leasable area is 979.6 square feet.
Right.
You're not putting weight on what this person said?
I changed it to 980 square feet.
Well, yeah, well, it's okay on that, but there's no basement listed as leasable area here, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You realize it's a violation of their standards if they mislead, if they provide the wrong square footage. You're aware of that for a broker?
Correct.
Okay. And the listing itself, with a couple of brokers working on it, and I'm referring you to page 12 again. They have living area 2127 square feet, which is the above grade space, correct? That's 1, 2, and 3.
Sorry.
Page
Page
12,
Okay,
living area 2127 square feet,
okay, yeah.
and they segregate the basement, correct?
920, yes.
And if you had provided the summary of this page from the real estate board, do you know what it would say for area?
I don't know, I've seen you would.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I know I can't answer questions for you, but um, moving along to the rents, you had applied, you had mentioned, I was writing this down quickly, that you kind of liked, I think it was, oh, they're not numbered here. You were saying the 2 on Osborne, and what was the third one? 539 Osborne, and what was the other one?
Yeah, well, there were two at the number 539 Osborne, sorry. 1 and 2 at 539 Osborne,
Those two.
the 7th and 8th down.
Yeah. Was there another one you mentioned?
No,
Oh, okay.
those two as being most similar.
And what type of building is that?
CMRSD.
No, I didn't mean the code. I mean,
Oh,
what is that? Is that a converted house?
no, it's commercial building.
It's a storefront retail, correct?
Yes,
Now I'm looking at a picture of it now, and are there 3 units in this building total?
there's 2, from what I recall, this property, there are 2 on the main, and I believe this one has a basement that's leased.
Okay, now I see that there's 2 restaurants and some sort of boutique in there. Is that what we're looking at?
Well, there's 1 restaurant and boutique.
And the boutique. Okay, all right. So okay. So what does a restaurant need in order to get a permit? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's more involved certainly for restaurants. Absolutely.
Okay. And these 2 buildings are typical commercial grade construction, correct? Steel framed. It looks like masonry exteriors.
Sorry, say again?
They're commercially built, correct? They appear to be steel frame with masonry exteriors.
Yes, correct.
And
Similar to your comparables.
sure, yeah, no, I'm not going to dispute that, but they're not converted houses, though, right?
No, neither are your comparables.
Well, you can get into that when you want to, but we're
Okay.
just talking about you right now.
Okay.
These aren't
I'm
converted
just putting it in
houses.
context.
These are not converted houses, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
They're tough they're certainly difficult to find.
Yeah. Okay.
I did find one though, 255 Marion.
Yes. 225 Marion.
225 Marion, sorry.
Yes, and that's in St. Boniface, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you for leading me to my next question. The one that's in a converted house is significantly lower than those that were made to be retail, correct?
Yes, so you see the picture, it's significantly poor quality as well, certainly when you compare it to the subject.
Now, I know the owner of this property. Now, do you know if he's got an occupancy permit for his building?
At 225 Marion?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Well, he does. Where did the vacancy rate come from?
That would have been from the model group as a result of the income and expense mailers that get returned.
And was this from the category called OFR?
I don't know specifically, that would be some of the modelers would be involved in.
Okay, so do you have any knowledge of how they arrived at 6%?
Vacancy, no, not
Okay,
specifically for the, office.
but it's coded as an office, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Office conversion, yes.
and this capitalization rate, where did this come from?
It's a model cap.
Right. Now I'm looking at your page 10. Does it come from one of these rows?
No, because I'm assuming because these properties are, so somewhat unique, we don't have a specific, place for that. I would say in our cap chart.
Well, your overall capitalization rate at 4.81%. Now, how can you justify that when the Bank of Canada Prime, that's the price, that's what they charge the banks to lend money to, as April 1st, 2023 was 4.75%. So you're saying that the return on this investment, that the bank, after the bank takes their markup and the owner takes their markup, is 0.06% of income?
Well, what I can say is the cap rates, they condense basically when the property decreases. So this is a small subject property that's, the main floor is under 1,000 square feet, and that's generally, what happens, in terms of the cap rate for these types of properties.
I had I heard an assessor on Friday make the statement that that there were no cap rate sales and they were using older ones going back to 2020 and 2021. Do you believe, does that seem similar to your experiences, or do you know?
No, I have no knowledge.
Okay, okay.
Of that.
Sorry, I think I'm finished, but just my notes are all scribbled in here. Yeah, those are my questions. Thank you very much for your patience.
Mr. Kraus, any questions for the assessor?
No, I think I'm good.
Miss Knight, any questions?
So just to be there for sure, you have registered the 24,607 square feet now as 426. Is that correct? The value is 426,000.
Sounds right. Let me just double check. In my income stream. Yes, I have the income stream one, the office res conversion at 426,000.
Okay, and the other part is 175.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. I don't need to ask anything further at this point. Thank you.
So the second floor is rented out on Airbnb, correct?
Yes.
Even though there's no occupancy permit for it.
Apparently, yeah. Oh, well, there is no occupancy, yes, but it is being rented out. It's on their website, available to the public, yes.
And the main floor retail that has an occupancy term.
By the owner operators, yeah, that's a retail, real estate company, they buy and sell houses.
I do have a further question when you're done.
Okay, let's see if I can. So whether it has an occupancy permit or not has no bearing on your assessment, whether you assess or on the fact that you assess it, a value to it and the amount. Has no bearing as far as the city of Winnipeg is concerned.
Well, I think we've adjusted our our value to account for that? So I would say no. As far as my knowledge, no, it has not.
And this is,
I would say I just don't know, actually. Like, this, you know, I've never, I guess, first instance for me where there's no occupancy, but it's been, where it's been disputed.
so would it be fair to say that the department, city department that deals with occupancy permits and the assessment and taxation are basically separate departments that work on their own basis?
We are separate, yeah.
So you're just concerned about the value of that property.
Right. I mean, there are businesses operating out there, out of it at the present time.
So whether the legality of it doesn't enter into your,
That's beyond my, I wouldn't know.
that 315 you took off on your, on the office there, that's premise ID 19312. Why did you take that off again?
Because we had it counted as a bedroom, when it was strictly a commercial office space, it was used as storage. The third bedroom, it refers to the third bedroom on the plans. So we had used that we had it assigned for storage on the third floor. We left it in when we converted it to the apartment stream. So in a sense, it was counted as a bedroom and as
So it was
space.
double counted then before?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I see.
But we were missing area for the main floor.
And the 19313, you changed it to from 773 to 980.
Correct, that's the main floor, yes.
And why was that? Yeah.
From the permits that for the main floor permits, and in the brief as well as confirmed by the mailer that was sent in
Okay.
from the owners.
Okay, Ms. Knight, you had no question?
Yeah, the picture on page, where am I gotta go back to now? On your page 2, has 2 front doors on that building. The picture on the sale item on page 12 has 1 front door. Are these actually the same buildings, or are they just 2 different buildings that were in, you know, built at the same time, look the same?
There might have been some updates to the property on page 2. It's the same property. It's there's not 2 separate like premises.
On page 12, it only shows 1 door there,
Yeah, I kind of.
and the mailbox beside it. And then on page 2, it's got 2 doors. I just making sure it's the same house that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the same house, yeah.
Okay, thank
By
you.
laws, yeah. All the other features are the same, similar, the address is there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Neufeld, you may begin your presentation.
Okay, thanks. I was just puzzled over the door. But I was just looking at the plan as well on page 15, and the plan just has the single door in.
Yeah, I don't see the double door. That's what I was asking.
But then when I just checked Google Street View, there's a lockbox on the northern door. So maybe it was added later for separate access to the second floor.
Mm.
Okay, this building, as you can well imagine, has got a variety of issues in it which relate to the value. the purchaser, and I met him, I guess about 3 years ago, after, no, 5 years ago, I'm sorry, after the purchase. And, he bought the building, there was a photographer in there, and ended up that he lost his permit for occupancy because of the rear roof trusses, and that's on the overhang, or not the overhang, I guess it was may have been a back room at one point. It's the part at the back that to see if I have a picture of it. Yeah, you can actually see the work, page 3. And that's what the repair was all about. You see where it's wrapped with, I guess, Tyvek or some sort of a wrap there, where above the second floor balcony, and that's where they lost the permit for structural on that. As of right now, I don't see a permit on the site, an occupancy permit, but that might just be a delay in getting them. But they did lose their permit, and they did have some work that they had to do. The owner obviously was part of the vendor, the people who sold the site, so it's not an arm's length transaction, and I'm happy that the assessor put that listing in there, and you can see why it's not an arm's length transaction. So it's beset with problems, and the owner faithfully gave you the facts. He says, I lost my permits, and when that happens, your building is worth zero. Your building is worth land value. It's a project building. It's not an income producer anymore. Now, with the first floor occupancy being the owner's own space, it obviously puts casts it in a different light, because you'd actually, I have to remember, I'm not a really good expert in this, but I remember moving into a house without an occupancy permit, but because I owned it, it was a different story than if I was renting it. So I don't know if that's the case with it or not. Just some past experience I had. The rest of the building is fairly old and authentic, and this whole concept of changing the effective year built is what's the best word for it? Nonsense. You don't change the age of a building without doing major work. And major work, you start with a foundation, because this is a rubble stone foundation. You can see from the pictures it's rubble. And rubble means that they used odd size stones and just shoved the mortar in between instead of cut stone. And the framing is failing, as they proved on the first part, but and the reason for that would likely be that it probably had excess moisture just because of the location. But that's the problem with a house that's 115 years old. It doesn't change the effective year whatsoever. It can look nicer, but I don't know about anybody else, but we changed the floor coverings in our house and repaint the inside of it, well, way too often. That doesn't make my house younger. It just what standard upkeep, and that's all that's been done to this house is cosmetics. Now you can tell that the windows were replaced, and that is an envelope change, but the rest of the envelope isn't. So the concept of putting an effective year built isn't the way it should ever be approached. You always do it in the appraisal business. What you do is you focus on remaining economic life. And so, did this extend the remaining economic life? Yes, some of the work did, but it doesn't make it change it from being 115 years old to being sorry, I forgot what the assessment department said, and they're now calling it 42 years old. It should always be focused on remaining economic life. And so a building built in 1960 without work on it versus one that was built in 1909 that has had some work on it, you would judge them both the same way. in terms of remaining economic life. We don't do that sort of stuff in the commercial world because it's misleading and it's inappropriate. It's a converted house, and there are some people who think it's nice to have an office in a converted house, such as the photographer who had it beforehand. I was in there when it was a photography studio, and it was great for them because they had change rooms and they had, I think there was a dark room set up somewhere, which with electronic conversion or with electronic photographs, you don't need a dark room anymore. We did not investigate whether there was an environmental issue because of the darkroom chemicals that had been used in the past, because they are toxic. But these are all the things that have to be declared. Now, the floor plate, so we look at as the utility of it, which is, the location, the parking, the floor plate. It's a smaller operation. It's going to appeal to a limited number of users. And it's not retail, storefront retail. You'll notice in the assessor's information that talks about parking, it says that there's parking for 4 or 8 if you park in tandem. Well, that's called parking for 4, not parking for 8. So there's nothing fancy about this house. And the basement, verbally, I'm going to present this 1960s Henderson, 67 Henderson. We just brought this in. It was a newly built building, and it has a basement, and the assessment department decided it was rentable, just like this one. And the board ruled, no, it's not rentable. It does not have it cannot get an occupancy permit at this point in time, and nobody's asked for it, and you cannot put it on the rolls. So that's point number one. You can't charge for basement space just because it's there. The listing is really the proof. In Manitoba, I don't know if it's a violation. There isn't a realtor in this city or province who would put basement space on their area for sale, because we don't count it. It's an amenity, possibly, but it is not separately valued. And unless it's got, and there are the retail basements we've actually seen that are rentable are up to code, and code requires barrier-free access. It requires ceiling heights. It requires the electrical. It requires plumbing, and meeting building code. So the basements don't meet building code for occupancy, and that's National Building Code. And that was the crux of the issue with the building I quoted, 1967 Henderson, that they were presented with all that evidence. Then in regard to the main floor, we had looked at, and by the way, there were some errors in our report here that I've corrected along the way. We did not actually have that measurement of 979.6. We had some older plans from prior to the recent work done. So we're changing that. And the rent used at $13. We had looked up, these are more miscellaneous use where there was actually a rent charged. The assessor was correct. It's very difficult to find a rent for a converted house because it's not common on the market, and it's a lower quality office space because they're not investment properties. I did, however, he reminded me of something, of one on Marion where we actually have a site, and I found a rent. I'm not going to put it into evidence, but it was $13.40 a foot for a converted house on Marion. So we know we're in the right ballpark at $13 on that. And the rest of this, and first of all, vacancy, whatever you're thinking about, anyone thinks about vacancy, I mean, I guess I figured it was all over the news that offices are suffering badly during COVID and post-COVID years. The only place where you're going to see an office in demand right now is in Southwest Winnipeg. and that's for owner occupants. The rest of the city is suffering badly, and we use the Johnson report, and we have the current report, which I have right here on vacancy, office vacancy, and we took our guidance from that, and what we did is looked at the overall office, which is 11.4, and then the suburban, which is 9.2, and just averaged them to 10.3. Our reason for doing so is sample size. The total office area in Winnipeg is about 19 million square feet, but the suburban is 5.6 million, so it's a smaller sample size. We just wanted to have the largest sample size possible, and this includes all sorts of different uses ranging from Class A to miscellaneous. The data for it, which we often publish, is about 20 pages of building by building of what is available, and no, 755 Osborne is nowhere on this list. It never made this list because it's inferior. It's below the grade of miscellaneous, and it wouldn't ever enter into a discussion on a market report because it's inferior, and inferior means it's not good. And so the 10.3 is a very fair number. We worked out non-recoverables at 5%, and if you've read the presentation provided by the assessor, and you can see the costs that they've spent in this site, and that's on the assessor's page 24, $90,000 in expenses. Now, sure, some of that might be considered capital, like the repair of $17,292. Some of that is, but the rest of it is pure non-recoverables mostly. And so whatever the city models and thinks 3% is fair, it's not fair. This building, completely disputes the concept of modeling. And I'm not saying that because I'm posturing a position, but the modeling is based on an adequate sample size and some homogeneous style buildings. It's not to deal with converted houses. It suffers. The cap rate that we've applied, and incidentally, there's some line items there and expenses I removed. My NOI, first of all, I changed it to 979.6 square feet. I figure if someone's precise like that, we should be precise. And our income on it, and this is the commercial portion only, is $12,735. That puts our NOI to $9,816. And as far as the cap rate, I think the assessor's comments were pretty good as well. We don't have cap rates on this, and the concept of a smaller one capping higher, that's not been borne out by true facts anywhere. The reason that happens is because there's usually an element of owner occupancy in the smaller sales. For example, this one, if you put this one on the market and it's sold and they told you what they were renting the top floor for, that's all that we get reported. Of course, it's going to come off at a phony low cap. And that's why buildings like this are very, very difficult to consider for cap rates. Whatever is reported has that element of owner occupancy. There are very few pure investment of this nature, if any, and none that we've ever come across. The other thing, as I was questioning the assessor, was we are reaching some form of consensus in the appeals by this time in October, in that we're saying the same thing. There's a remarkable lack of market transactions. It's a holding time because interest rates rose so high. Now, how do you deal with it? The assessment deals with it by using old data. That's not correct because those are old sales. The driving issue behind any cap rate is the interest rate. The Bank of Canada rate was 4.75% that date. That's the bank, April 1st, 2023. That's in our evidence somewhere. I know because I put it in. And It's on page 36. That means that's what the bank chart, but that's what the Bank of Canada charges the regular bank, who upcharges it and charges the lender and the borrower, I should say, and then the borrower has to factor that into his capitalization rate as a return on his investment. Um, what Colliers did in 2021, when we saw this happening and beginning to happen, we revived they called it the debt advisory services. In appraisal, we called it mortgage equity. And that's been around longer than direct capitalization has ever been. That was the way old appraisers were trained. And I've been around long enough. That was the first thing we were taught on capitalization is a mortgage equity. What do you need after you pay your mortgage loan and return on your income? And the chart that sums it up is on page 34. And this is a simplified version. And it really, what it does is it tracks you can see that the government, the bond yields and the government yields and the cap rates are tracked in there. And for until about 2021, there was about a 4-point spread. So if the Bank of Canada rate was 3%, your cap rate would be 7. Pretty simple stuff. Now this compressed as COVID got worse, and it compressed because people believed the rates would drop again. There was some optimism. So by the time we hit 2023 first quarter and the Bank of Canada was 4.75, the compression was about 2.6 points, which puts us at about 7.3, 7.4% for a cap rate on the market as to what they were expecting, because they're expecting the rates to drop. This is the way we've been doing it for the last 3 years in our world, because there's a real lack of market sales. And and you'll see that our report on page let's see what page we put this on here. We had some changes in here. Page the one we were relying on is page 38. Shows that the suburban office 6.5 to 7.5. And that, of course, this thing doesn't even meet remotely close the description of it, which is listed on page 42. The line on page 41 that I've underlined is the one to pay attention to. Double-digit cap rates seem possible in 2023 for a few select assets as the impact of a new rate environment is felt in every market. Now, that's a property like the Subject would be capped that way because of its high risk potential. We haven't gone to that extreme because there's, as I said, there's still the investor sentiment that the rates are going to get better and we're not going to be as aggressive. I didn't select 773 for this. Someone in the office did, and I disagree with it. But I'm not going to change it because I'm not here to get into any sort of sharp practice. We make the commitment when we prepare these, unless it's a glaring error and not just a question of a difference of reasonable opinion. We're only going to change upward in value, not downward. And our value. So I didn't change the cap. I'm thinking we would see double digits, but I'll leave it as it is. So 9816 capped at 7.75% is 126,662, 126,662, rounded to 127,000. And perhaps as a comment, concluding statement, I don't do this for shock value. This is real. The model doesn't work for properties like this. And to say, well, we're going to look at the sequential values and increases. We have a property that's sick, and the guy bought it thinking it earned money. Obviously, he was mistaken. And how do you deal with that? Do you simply say, well, we're the assessment department, so we think it'll be, it should be earning income. It isn't. It is, so we're not posturing. This is a reality of properties like this. People buy them for the wrong reason, and it doesn't work out. So our number is 127,000 for the commercial portion, and we're willing to accept the value of I forgot what it was, 175 for the residential. I don't agree with some parts of it, but I think it's a question of ups and downs, and it balances off nicely. So that's my yes, that's my presentation.
What is the total then?
I knew you were gonna ask that. Okay. 127 plus 175 is 302,000.
Okay, Mr. Ducharme, do you have any questions for Mr. Neufeld?
I do. On page 4, you brief your comparables. Are any of these comparables located within the same region as the subject property?
Sorry, just let me get there. No, I think we would consider them to be similar in many respects, but not in the same region.
Comparables number 10, 329 Cumberland. Are you aware of that parcel code for this is industrial? It's an industrial warehouse, not commercial.
No, it's not. It's more like an artist loft. You should have been there on Friday. Yes, the city classifies it as industrial. Their mistake, not mine. I've been in it. It's working space for artists mostly. A lot of retail in it. People are making stuff and then selling it up front.
And we also have 54 Arthur. Is that not industrial?
Arthur? No, not at all. That's just an old office building. It was, I don't know what it was 100 years ago, but I know for the last 30, 40 years, it's been office and retail.
Okay. What would you consider your best comparable to be?
The one I just mentioned verbally at 1340 a foot at 278 Marion. I think that some of these give you an idea of the bracket of what oddball office gets, and that bracket rent was 274 up to 1240. As I said, I didn't prepare this, and I would have probably gone to that and looked at that. And I don't necessarily disagree with the rent you provided on Marion as well with the converted house. I think that that's possible, but before saying that I would like that, I would probably also say that we have issues with the stability of that sort of an income stream with the ongoing problems they've had with obtaining a occupancy permit, and that's a downward pressure on everything. So I think 13 is achievable.
All right, how did you arrive at that $13 per square foot?
I didn't do this myself. I think it was just going to the top of the range on this because it had its own parking and probably a little bit more of a non-institutional feel to it. These are all generally more institutional. As I mentioned, I would have looked elsewhere myself, but I'm comfortable presenting this based on I've been sitting here going through our records and thinking that no, it's a good number. Had I done it.
So the total value is 127,000 for the commercial stream, 175 for the apartment stream for a total of 302,000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
If you were the owner, would you be selling this property for 302,000?
Not sure what I would do if I were the owner. I wouldn't have bought it in the first place because you could see that there were issues that were going to come up. I think it was a risky purchase. So that makes it hard for me to say what I would do with it. I, as an appraiser, I can tell you the way I would have valued it, which is a different story. I would have gone on a rate per square foot, and that would be using roughly 2,000 square feet of upper space. 302,000 is $150 a foot, and then considering, what's the high end of the range, what's the low end of the range, and how much work is needed. You can do a cost to cure better on direct comparison than you can on the income approach. Because the income approach is like a yes no issue. Can't lease it, can lease it. Whereas direct comparison, a lot of people buy homes to fix them up, and there's adequate data. So I haven't double checked that on 150 a foot, but I think I was speaking to one of your colleagues the other day about some other properties, and there was a nice range between 130 and 250 a foot on housing. And it would depend on how much work it needed. So I think that would be the target.
No further questions, thank you.
Ms. Knight, any questions?
I do have one question. Just give me a second. I gotta close my door. The guy's coming in to get my husband up finally. It has got to do with, where the heck is it now? On the front page, you say that the 2023 assessment is under appeal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you. Others were asked and answered by the assessor.
Mr. Kraus, any questions?
Just with regards to the sale, that you mentioned was not an arm's length sale. And how does that affect the value of the sale price for you?
Well, essentially, there's two things you can do with a sale. One is you can adjust it, and second, you can throw it out. And if you could adjust it, what I was saying earlier about, say, a cost to cure, you buy something and you know what it's going to cost to fix it, you can adjust the sale. It's difficult to impossible to adjust for a non-arm's length because you don't know all the factors that went through it. Was there preferential financing? Was there, was this, were there other considerations in it? And, assemblage sale, for example, this wasn't an assemblage sale, but we have something like that. It's a yes, no, rather than an amount. I guess my not just my opinion on it, but the way to handle it is just to disregard it. No reliance.
I'm just a bit trying to understand it, because usually non-arm's length means that it's quite a good deal, isn't it? Like, I mean, if you were.
Oh, no, it's usually actually that's an
Like an
interesting
arm's length
question.
transaction is generally a fair market value, but a non-arm's length is generally under a fair market value, no? Or am I misunderstanding that?
Actually, most of the non-arm's length sales are, and I'm not saying anything about this property, most are overstated because what happens is that the ones I've seen is, say you had 10 sales you're looking at, you can easily find the low one because it's going to be usually a relative on there. But the ones that are too high, it's impossible to find because they usually are, as they write them up for more of a price than they actually transacted. And then they go to the bank and try to get financing at 70% of the sale price and on an inflated sale price for money that never changed hands. It's illegal. And I've seen it happen, but I think that, like I said, if you had 10 sales, you're more apt to find 3 non-arm's length and maybe 3 higher and 1 lower. That would be the ratio I've seen. In another one you're saying where it's lower is like, the father sells the farm to the son. Doesn't want the kid to have a big burden and it's part of his inheritance, but that sort of thing. Those things are obvious. There's a particular town in Manitoba where the practice has always been overstated sales price, get your mortgage lending, flip it again. And the people who do it seem to think they invented this process, but so I was thinking about this earlier this morning, and that's why I'm talking too much about it. But I would say it's usually overpriced.
That's all I have.
So you're using 900 and what figure for the area?
979.6.
So no, okay, 979.6. At $13 a square foot.
That is correct.
So on your summary sheet here, it's coming out to 120,000. You're at 127 now?
Yes, that's correct. By changing the square feet.
Well, then isn't it 979.6? Isn't that very similar to what you have there, 980?
Sorry, maybe it's my bad eyes. I thought we had 900 written in.
No, we had 980.
Oh, I see that. I see. Okay.
I'm wondering why there's a discrepancy with what you're asking at this meeting.
Okay.
Time
Okay.
and what you have.
Oh, okay. Well, I did change the shortfall to $8. Because I don't have a disagreement with what the model shows there. So that was another change. There was that line of $8,400, which when I looked at the math was never. Yeah. Okay, my NOI. Sorry. Okay, NOI was 9816 from 9273, and it was 1355 to 807. Sorry, no, I couldn't read this. The rent didn't change. It was just the shortfall. It changed from 1342 to $8. So that changed the shortfall from 1355 to 807, and the subsequent NOI to 9816 rather than 9273. There's a line that says 8,400, and that's actually a dead calculation. That was never part of it. And I had to check that out when I was opening it up. So
Your 127 is correct then?
yes, it is.
Okay. That's the only question I had then.
I'm just double checking the D10 divided by D12. Yes.
NOI 9816, cap rate 7.75 for a total of 120,000 rounded, or 127,000 rounded.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No further questions then. Anything in summation, Mr. Ducharme?
I would just say, the occupancy aside, that provided strong comparables that are in support of the assessed value, and I feel it should be confirmed.
Mr. Neufeld, anything in summation?
Yes. Aside from everything else I said, I think the proper way to evaluate this is not the income approach, because it's misleading on everything that this contains. It's not just the rent and trying to capitalize a building with non-investment building with investment parameters. It's the mix and uses, and the fact that in our business we would likely do a direct comparison on this. And while we've been sitting here, I just pulled an MLS on 650 sales in that region for the area, and there's a fairly strong indication of $180,000 to $340,000 overall for houses of this size, and that's the way it should have been done. And the big problem is this cost to cure issue. It's a yes, no proposition. If you don't have an occupancy permit, you can't be rentable. Can't be rentable, you can't do the income approach. And that's kind of the bottom line on the old outstanding municipal board appeal. I will mention that there's one other case, which I think the city finally dropped their appeal on it regarding 903965 Portage, where an occupancy permit came out and then was later canceled, and they had to agree to use the old square footage because that was the square footage that was occupiable and therefore taxable. So there is a tremendous amount of case law behind this, and the model ignores all of it. This is an anomaly for property. This isn't any sort of an indication on the rest of the market. It has its own problems. Thank you very much.
Okay. Then we'll conclude item 6, 755 Osborne. And thank you very much, Mr. Newfield.
Thanks.
We can then carry on and see if item number 1 applicant is available. Not available. So therefore, we will go in camera and decide if we, as a panel, if we are going to hear item number 1370 Notre Dame Avenue. And also a non-co-op, yeah. Okay, meeting is back in order, in the matter of item number 1370 Notre Dame. The board has considered the matter of hearing this property in the absence of the applicant, and we have decided that we are not going to hear it. Therefore, if there are no other properties, sir.
Can I ask, or is there a reason why, or is that, I can't ask? Or it doesn't matter?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Therefore, all the properties today have been heard and this hearing is now adjourned.